Hello, Caesar. Welcome to the interview. Can you introduce yourself really quickly?
Hi, my name is Caesar. I am a fourth-year student in electrical engineering.
Can you talk a little bit about your high school background?
So in high school, this is in Calgary, Alberta. I did the IB program, the International Baccalaureate. So IB gives HL and SL classes, so standard learning and high learning. For my high school, they offered high learning courses in English literature and social studies, and as well as physics and biology, but you had to choose between the two. Chemistry and math were given as standard learning. So essentially, for standard learning, you cannot get credits for university, but for high learning, you could. So I ended up doing physics, high learning. So in terms of like the credits I got for university, I mainly had credits in history, in English, and in physics as well. Since I'm in electrical engineering, I didn't want to take the credits for physics because I wanted to do the university level. Even though I have those extra credits, I didn't really use them.
Can you describe like how your program is built?
Yeah, so given that I'm from Alberta, the way they built it is you do 4 years. You start at U0, then you do U1, U2, U3, and you graduate. Now the thing with engineering is like a lot of the time you don't really do those 4 years because sometimes you have conflicts, or if you do it in 4 years. Like in, for example, in electrical engineering, it's 134 credits. You look at mechanical engineering, it's like closer to 140, right? So oftentimes people will take one more semester, so they don't have to take 70, 80 credits each semester. And since I'm doing a minor, for example, I was going to perhaps do half a semester more. I decided to just do 1 extra year so I could do the minor and also not have like a super high course load. But to be fair, I ended up with a very high course load anyways.
Is there a specific way the program is built? Like
essentially the way it works is you have your required non-departmental courses. So this will be like Calculus 1, Calculus 2, Calculus 3. They're given by the math department. Now, oftentimes it's like mathematics, like calculus for engineers. Like there's math 263. Which I believe is ordinary differential equations for engineers. But yeah, you have these non-departmental courses. There's also a class you take with civil engineering. There's a class you take with materials engineering. And then you have your departmental courses. So these are the ECSE courses you take. And you do that for your first 3-4 years. Well, in my case, I'm doing 5 years. So for my first 3 to 4 years, it's mostly some non-departmental, some departmental, but all required. And then you're given a list of like 30 classes that they call technical complementaries. And in electrical engineering, I would choose about 5 of those or so. There's also one caveat as well, because I'm technically in the honors electrical engineering program. So for that one, the difference is they just kind of change which technical complementaries you take. From the technical complementaries, there's like 2 different lists. There's like list A and there's list B. And as well, there's also, they do give you 1 elective. And they also make you take about 3 or 4 classes in like humanities. And one requirement is called like impact of technology on society. So you got to take like a class or 2 on that. No, the most important thing is in the regular electrical engineering program, you also do your capstone design project at the end, which you usually do in a group of people. Me being an honors, I instead do an individual thesis, which is a little bit more research based. And it helps a bit more for like doing a master's and things. But at the same time, it's not like super required to get into a master's.
It's like the biggest difference with honors versus non-honors?
Yeah, it's a thesis. Okay. There used to be more differences, but then they kind of switched them around. Like one class you would take at the 500 level, but they just scrapped that and you take it normally. Oh. And also, again, your technical complementaries. Like they kind of limit your choices a little bit more.
One thing you like and one thing you dislike about your major?
I like that in engineering, there's not as much focus on your grades. So it's like I know people going into medicine and law, it's kind of like
really stressful.
You need to get like that 3.9 or 4.0, that type of stuff. In engineering, obviously you don't want to do bad, but there's a lot more like emphasis on work, like how you'll be out in the field. But then the caveat is that then like the workload is really high. Okay, when you look at like our schedules, they're packed. So the workload is really very high. Like you can kind of focus more on learning as opposed to trying to get a good grade.
Okay.
Something I don't like, which is very annoying, is a lot of the non-departmental courses, right? Like the ones I was talking about earlier, they'll teach them in a way that's like they're just there so they can say that you know, at least you did it, and they're not very well organized sometimes.
If you have any, what's your biggest regret study-wise?
Probably the fact that my very first year I was in physics and physiology.
Oh, you switched?
Yeah. But to be fair, it didn't really do much for me in the sense that the first year for physics and physiology is the same year as the first year for engineering. Like I did try out different minors. I regret it in that like if I knew what I knew now, I never would have done it.
Yeah,
but at the same time, how was I supposed to know, right?
It's fine.
Yeah. Any regrets? Like not in particular. Like I don't have anything like
that's true. Really, that's totally fine. Do you find it hard to balance school and your social life?
Not really.
That's good though.
To be honest,
Good for you.
not really.
What do you plan on doing after this degree? Do you want to continue in the same direction or?
So going back to the technical complementaries, I'm focusing a lot on the power engineering stream. So like the power generation, things like that. Like an example, like Hydro-Quebec is one example of a company that works in that. So I want to go into that field, but at the same time, I want to find a company that will sponsor me a master's. I want to work first probably, you know, and then if yeah, exactly, and hopefully I can find a company that will sponsor it.
And do you have any idea of which field you want to do?
Electrical engineering. Either that or an MBA.
That's good. Why did you choose this program, and why did you choose McGill?
So initially, right, I was thinking of perhaps doing medicine because like everyone in my family is in electrical engineering. So it's like I want to do something different. Yeah. And then my first year, like I took the physics courses and I really liked the E&M stuff, like the electricity and magnetism. And I was like, maybe, you know, I'll switch to electrical engineering while still doing some stuff for medicine in case I can. That way I can do either medicine or electrical engineering. Through doing like my biochem classes and doing my engineering classes, I like my engineering classes better. So I ended up really just focusing a lot more on electrical engineering. And then I switched to the honors program because I want to do like that thesis, that individual thesis. And why I chose McGill. So I was between UBC, U of T, and McGill, but I ended up choosing McGill because to get the superficial part out of the way, like McGill has a more historical name than the other two, but beyond that, it was mainly a location thing. Because whether you go to UBC, U of T, or McGill, like if one is higher in the rankings by 5, you know, they're more or less the same. So I ended up going to McGill because one, it's in Montreal. It's like it was really between Montreal and Toronto. Because I didn't really want to move to BC because it's kind of far away, especially with my dad working near Boston. So I wanted to move more towards the East Coast or closer to it. Just kind of looking at the two cities, I don't know, I always liked Montreal a bit better. And also, since I studied like French in high school for 3 years, I'm like, I might as well go to a French-speaking province. Like maybe I can like meet people that speak French and practice it a bit, which I low-key have been.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. I've heard you speak French, it's good. I think I know the answer to that one, but any regrets in your choice of major?
Oh, for my major? No.
Yeah.
Not for my major.
That's what I was expecting.
I like my major.
Was it hard to adjust to university life and to your classes?
I'm gonna be honest, the IB program really helped with that because the IB program has a really high course load because you have to write a lot of papers. Like there's a point where I think for each class you have to write a paper on something. So you kind of get used to the workload, I'd say. When I was on IB, if I made one mistake on an exam, it would really bother me, and I would always like be doing the exams very stressed, trying to like not make a mistake. So then I went to university saying, okay, I'm not going to like focus on my grade. I'm going to focus on like, you know, learning, enjoying what I do. I'm going to try to like not stress out. It's been working. So for me, like it was not super hard to adjust. And I think part of it is because of that. Like I think the IB program is really good. Like it's high workload, but it really helps you get into like the groove like university.
How is the overall vibe in your classes?
It really depends on who I'm taking them with. Because when I'm with friends, okay, like one of my classes right now, it feels like I'm in high school. We mess around a lot. Like, it actually feels like high school. Other classes, especially for my minor, where I don't really know anyone, it's kind of you go in, you go out. It's because there's two groups of engineers. Like there's the ones that are definitely more like studious, like, you know, like they'll do their stuff, they don't really go out a lot, and that's fine. But it's like that can be a lot more like a serious vibe. And there's the other engineers that are the complete opposite. That like I knew this one guy, he's like only taking 12 credits a semester. And he did that for like 5-6 years, so he can go out all the time, like things like that, right? So it really depends. It really depends on which engineer you meet. It's hard to say like this, like one general vibe.
Okay, yeah. Any final words?
Subscribe.